You know, the very first thing she screamed at me, on property that was legally mine, hundreds of feet outside her little kingdom, was, "Get off my land before I call the real police." That was Eleanor Thorne, chairwoman of the sprawling Copperwood Estates Homeowners Association, and the only thing she truly cared about wasn't facts or bylaws. It was pure, unadulterated control. And when I simply refused to leave my own front porch, she didn't just get mad. She launched a full-scale war that ended up costing her everything: her reputation, her power, and, frankly, her last shred of sanity. What started as petty harassment quickly escalated into outright sabotage, fake police reports, and eventually, the felony of impersonating law enforcement. But the thing is, I had something Eleanor completely overlooked. I had the law, and I knew exactly how to use it. Hey everyone, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. And if you've ever had to fight a neighborhood bully with a clipboard, hit that subscribe button, because this story is a deep dive into how documentation and patience beats pure arrogance every single time. The morning light was spilling through the cabin windows, soft and golden, like a promise of peace. I stood there, pouring my first cup of coffee in my new place, finally listening to the sound of the pines and the earth, the kind of quiet that makes you feel like you can breathe again after years in the city grind. I was a former real estate attorney, Nolan Graves, and I had come here to retire, to find that simple, uncomplicated life. Then I heard it, an engine tearing up the long, gravel driveway, too fast, too aggressive for anyone with a good reason to be visiting. I watched through the window as a pristine white Lexus SUV fishtailed to a stop near the porch. A woman stepped out, impeccably dressed in a black suit, clutching a leather-bound clipboard, with sunglasses reflecting the morning sun like twin interrogation lights. She didn't knock. She walked straight up my steps like they were her personal property. I beat her to the punch, opening the door before she could start pounding. She looked me up and down, her lips pressed into a razor-thin line. "I'm Eleanor Thorne," she clipped, holding that clipboard up like it was a federal badge. "Chairwoman of Copperwood Estates Homeowners Association. I have received multiple reports of code violations on this property, and I'm here to address them immediately." I leaned on the door frame, keeping my tone slow and steady. "Ma'am, this place isn't under your HOA." She laughed, a dry, humorless cough that just made the air colder. "Everything in this valley falls under our jurisdiction, mister. That's how it works here." She flipped a page and started reading, reciting from her clipboard like it was scripture. "Unauthorized fence installation, unapproved storage shed, non-conforming vehicle parking area. You have 72 hours to submit an application for retroactive approval, or we will be forced to take legal action." "Ma'am," I countered, "I think there's been a profound mistake. This land is clearly outside your community boundaries." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I've been managing Copperwood Estates for 20 years. I know exactly where our boundaries are, and they have expanded." She pulled out a printed sheet with a bold red HOA logo, a notice of violation, listing infractions that were more absurd than the last. "You'll find everything documented here. I expect full compliance within the timeline provided." I took the paper, but I wasn't looking at it. I stepped inside and grabbed the folder I'd kept on the kitchen table since closing day. The certified property deed, the survey map, the title insurance. I spent a decade as an attorney handling these exact boundary disputes, so I knew how to read a survey line better than she knew how to read her HOA minutes. "This, Eleanor," I said, pointing to the clearly marked line on the 2-year-old certified map, "shows the property line. Your HOA ends here. My land starts here. That's a clear 217 feet of separation." She barely glanced at it. "Old maps aren't valid anymore. Boundaries shift. We've expanded." "Boundaries don't just expand in the state of Arizona," I said, my voice losing its easy tone. "That requires rezoning, legal filings, and owner consent. Do you have documentation?" Her jaw tightened. "I don't need to justify our authority to you. I'm giving you notice. That's more courtesy than most people get." She turned to leave, her heels grinding on my porch wood. Just before she got to her SUV, she paused, her eyes narrow with genuine hostility. "I'll be back with our legal team. You might want to start packing." I watched her drive away, the dust hanging in the air like a final accusation. I knew right then, my quiet retirement had just become a very expensive, very personal legal battle. I immediately called Fletcher Hayes. He was a licensed land surveyor and a law school friend of mine who actually enjoyed a good boundary fight. "Eleanor actually said the boundaries expanded?" he asked, quiet disbelief in his voice. Word for word, I confirmed. "That's not how any of this works, Nolan," he sighed. "I'll be there tomorrow morning. I'll resurvey everything, file a certified report with the county, and generate documentation that will hold up in any court. But Nolan, if she's this aggressive on day one, she's not going to back down easily." I already knew that. The first thing I did after hanging up was pull out the boxes I'd bought for peace of mind. Security cameras. I mounted the first one above the front door, aiming it at the driveway and the main gate. Recording. I looked out at the distance, at the neat rooftops of Copperwood Estates. Orderly, yes. But order without respect for boundaries isn't order at all. It's control, and taken too far, control becomes tyranny. On the second morning, I woke up to an absolute mess. Yellow paper notices were plastered across my gate, my shed, and even my mailbox, like some kind of official, ugly infection. Red letters shouting, "Notice of violation." I pulled one off the gate. Unauthorized construction, livestock housing, failure to maintain aesthetic standards. I didn't even have livestock. None of it was real, but that didn't matter to Eleanor. She was interested in making me leave. I methodically photographed every single notice, timestamps, locations, exact wording. Then I peeled them off and put them in a dedicated folder, evidence. My inbox blinked with 11 new emails, all from a legal team address, escalating from a hollow cease and desist to demands for property inspection and threats of $500 daily fines. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, already hitting record. "This is Nolan Graves." "Mr. Graves, this is Eleanor Thorne," her voice tight and controlled. "You have 24 hours to vacate the property, or we will proceed with forced removal." "Mrs. Thorne," I replied calmly, "I'm recording this call. You do not have the legal authority to remove me from my own land. This property is not part of your HOA." She talked right over me. "Our legal team has confirmed your property falls within our expanded jurisdiction. You'll regret this." The line went dead. I mirrored that recording across 3 different drives. Never trust one copy. Fletcher arrived near noon. After 3 grueling hours with his high-precision GPS unit, locating the iron stakes driven in decades ago, he had the definitive proof. "Your property line is exactly where the 2023 survey said it was, Nolan. 217 feet outside the HOA boundary. Clean and clear. I'll file the certified report today. This will hold up in any court." "Thanks, Fletcher," I said, a wave of relief hitting me. "Nolan," he warned, handing me a small electronic device. "People like her don't stop because you show them facts. They stop when they are forced to stop. Put this motion sensor on your survey markers. I've seen them tamper with the stakes to move the line." I spent the rest of the day installing 3 more cameras. My property, my boundaries, my evidence. Night 2, surveillance. Night 3, something worse. I checked the camera footage at 6 a.m. and felt my stomach drop like a stone. Timestamp, 3:14 a.m. 3 figures moving across my property in the dark. Eleanor and 2 others, wearing reflective vests that read, HOA inspection team. They cut through the back gate lock with bolt cutters. They spent 23 minutes measuring, photographing, and writing notes. Criminal trespass. Destruction of property. I filed a report with the sheriff's non-emergency line. 10 hours later, Eleanor came back. This time, she brought the 2 people from the night before, a shaved-headed man and a woman in a blazer, all dressed in business attire now. I met them at the gate, body camera clipped to my shirt, recording already running. "Mr. Graves," she simpered, "we are here to conduct a formal property inspection as outlined in the HOA bylaws." "You are trespassing," I said, calm and steady. "You broke my lock last night. I have it all on video." Her eyes narrowed. "You can't prove that." I turned my phone screen toward her and hit play. The footage showed her clearly, in the middle of the night, giving directions on my property. Her face went pale, then instantly flushed crimson. She pulled out her own phone. "Fine, I'll call them myself." She dialed 911, and her voice shifted, frantic, full of drama. "Yes, I need to report a trespasser. There's a man on HOA property threatening us. He's becoming aggressive." She gave them my address. My address on my own land. I kept my phone trained on her, recording every word. I'm not aggressive. I'm standing on my own property. You're the ones trespassing and filing a false report. 15 minutes later, Deputy Finch arrived. Eleanor immediately launched into a hysterical monologue about my verbal threats and refusal to comply. Deputy Finch, bless his heart, remained cautious. He looked at me. I handed him the stack, deed, certified survey, and the phone footage from 3 a.m. He watched the clip, his jaw tightening. He turned to Eleanor. Ma'am, do you have legal documentation showing the HOA has authority over this property? We have internal records that show boundary expansion, she insisted, her confidence wavering. Deputy Finch's tone went flat. Internal records aren't legal property documents. Do you have a county-filed boundary amendment? Anything official? She had nothing. Ma'am, Finch said, closing his notepad. Making a false police report is a criminal offense. So is trespassing and destruction of property. I am advising you to leave immediately and not return without Mr. Graves' permission. She glared at him, then stalked back to her SUV. Finch stayed behind. People like this don't usually stop after one warning, Mr. Graves. Keep recording everything. You'll need it. He was right. By day 5, I had a documented timeline. Day 1, threat. Day 2, notices. Day 3, trespass and destroyed lock. Day 4, attempted entry and false police report. Day 5, recorded threat of forcible removal. Every day, broad escalation. I saved the entire package, video, audio, documentation, and emailed it to myself. Evidence archive, Thorn harassment case. I went to bed that night with the sickening feeling that she was planning something big. I woke up at 2 a.m. to total darkness. The power was out. I grabbed my flashlight. The main breaker lock was gone, cut clean through. Every breaker was flipped off. I checked the cameras. The battery backup was running. Footage showed 2 figures in ski masks cutting the lock, flipping the switches. But there was something else. The white Lexus SUV, parked faintly at the edge of the frame. Then I walked the perimeter. All 4 tires on my truck were slashed, deep, irreparable cuts. The shed door was spray-painted red. Leave or else. Fence posts were cut halfway through. The outdoor water spigot was wrenched clean off the pipe. This wasn't harassment. This was felony sabotage. I documented every angle. The tires, the paint, the broken spigot, the footage, and then Sheriff Warren Blackwell arrived, Deputy Finch at his side. Mr. Graves, I'm Sheriff Blackwell. Deputy Finch briefed me. I wanted to handle this personally. I walked him through the damage. The total estimate was over $3,000. Felony threshold in this county is $1,500. It qualified. I showed him the footage, the masked figures, the telltale white SUV. That's criminal trespass, vandalism, and destruction of property, Blackwell said, his expression hardening. This has gone beyond a property dispute. This is organized criminal activity. I'm opening a full investigation. We will pull phone records, track vehicle movements. In the meantime, I am formally recommending you file a restraining order immediately. If she comes near your property, we arrest her. I nodded. I'll file for one tomorrow. I clicked on my fully charged body camera. If Eleanor showed up today, I was ready. She did. At 11 a.m., the white SUV came barreling up the driveway. Eleanor got out with the same 2 associates. I stood up from the porch and walked to the gate, the body camera already recording. Stop right there, I commanded. You are not welcome on this property. What happened here last night was unfortunate, Eleanor said, her face flushed with misplaced righteousness. But you brought it on yourself. If you had just listened from the beginning, none of this would have been necessary. Are you admitting you were involved? I challenged. She smiled, sharp, cold. I'm saying that when people refuse to follow the rules, consequences follow. Sheriff Blackwell opened a criminal investigation this morning. I continued, voice steady. Felony vandalism, criminal trespass. If you're involved, you'll be charged. You think you can intimidate me with threats? She scoffed. I've been running Copperwood Estates for 20 years. This property is going to be part of our community one way or another. He can leave voluntarily, or we'll make it so uncomfortable he has no choice. I pointed to the body camera on my chest. I am recording this. You just threatened me on camera, in front of witnesses. Her face went white, then scarlet. She stared at the camera, realizing the legal gravity. Her associates grabbed her arm. Karen, we need to go now. She shook them off, standing there, shaking with pure, unadulterated rage. "You're going to regret this, Nolan," she hissed, low and venomous. "I promise you, you're going to regret this." Then she finally turned and sped away. But that wasn't the final, desperate move. On the morning of day 7, a white commercial van pulled up to my gate. Four people got out, all wearing matching uniforms, dark blue shirts, black tactical vests, and badges clipped to their belts that read, Copperwood HOA Enforcement Division. I walked down slowly, body camera rolling. Mr. Graves, the leader, the shaved-headed man, called out, "We're here under authority of the HOA to execute a mandatory property eviction. Please exit the premises immediately, or we will be forced to remove you physically." He held up a piece of paper, a flimsy photocopy labeled Mandatory Eviction Notice. No court seal, no judge's signature, just fake legal language. "You are not law enforcement," I stated, clear and loud for the camera. "You are private citizens pretending to be law enforcement. And impersonating law enforcement is a felony." The woman stepped forward, hand on her radio. "Sir, if you don't comply, we'll have no choice but to use force." I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, putting it on speaker. "911, what's your emergency?" "I have 4 people on my property claiming to be HOA enforcement officers," I told the dispatcher. "They're wearing tactical vests and badges. They're threatening to forcibly remove me from my home. I need law enforcement here immediately." The team's confidence instantly shattered. They started muttering, looking at each other. They were just hired muscle who didn't sign up for a felony charge. Then, Eleanor's white Lexus came screaming up the driveway. She got out, fury radiating off her. "What are you doing, Nolan? These are authorized personnel conducting official HOA business. You're interfering with a legal process." The sound of sirens filled the air. 2 sheriff's cruisers pulled up, lights flashing. Sheriff Blackwell stepped out, flanked by deputies. He took one look at the tactical vests and the badges, and his expression went cold. "Everyone stay where you are," he commanded. "Hands where I can see them." He walked over to the leader and gestured to the badge. "Let me see that." He examined it. "This is a plastic badge printed on a home laminator. You're aware that impersonating law enforcement is a felony in this state." He turned to Eleanor. "Mrs. Thorne, you hired people to impersonate law enforcement and execute a fake eviction. That's a conspiracy to commit multiple felonies." He walked over to me. "Mr. Graves, you have footage of this?" I nodded, holding up my phone. "Body camera and security cameras. Everything." He took the phone, reviewed the body camera footage of the threat, the fake eviction, and Eleanor's instructions. When he finished, he handed it back. "That's solid evidence. I'm arresting all 5 of them. Impersonating law enforcement, criminal trespass, attempted unlawful eviction, conspiracy." He looked at Eleanor. "Mrs. Thorne, you're under arrest." Her face crumpled. "You can't do this. I was protecting my community." Blackwell didn't flinch. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back." Deputy Finch stepped forward and cuffed her. One by one, the others were cuffed, too. All 5 of them, the fake enforcement team and the woman who had sent them. Eleanor looked at me one last time before they put her in the back of the cruiser. Her eyes were full of rage, fear, and utter defeat. 2 days later, I was at the station with Sheriff Blackwell and District Attorney Vera Holbrook. I handed them the USB drive, 43 hours of footage, audio, photos, and my complete timeline. "This is incredibly thorough," Holbrook said. "Most victims of harassment don't document to this level." I spent 10 years as a property law attorney. I shrugged. I knew exactly what she was going to do and exactly what I needed to prove it. Holbrook reviewed the final footage. Eleanor directing the fake eviction, the badge, the tactical gear. That's felony impersonation of law enforcement, clear as day. Combined with criminal trespass, vandalism, and conspiracy, Mrs. Thorne is looking at significant prison time. Blackwell added. The HOA board held an emergency meeting and voted unanimously to remove Thorne as chairwoman. They've issued a formal apology to you and confirmed in writing that your property is outside their jurisdiction. Holbrook closed her laptop. She took a plea deal, Mr. Graves. 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service, $8,500 in restitution to cover your damages and legal costs, and she's banned from holding any HOA leadership position for 5 years. No prison time, but she lost everything. Her power, her reputation, and her ability to do this to anyone else. It was enough. 1 month later, I stood on the porch in the early morning light. I realized I had finally stopped checking the cameras every hour. The field stretched out in front of me, quiet, still, and free. No white SUV, no yellow notices, no voices shouting threats. The boundaries were permanent. The legal lines were drawn. I had won, not by fighting with fists or threats, but by trusting that documentation, patience, and the law would be enough. And they had been. I took a deep breath, the air clean and cold. This was what I had come here for, the simple freedom to exist on my own terms. And now, finally, I had it. Thanks for watching, guys. Tell me in the comments below, if you had to face Eleanor, what piece of evidence do you think was the absolute game changer? The certified survey, the body camera footage, or the felony impersonation? Let's talk about the power of knowing the law.